So it says connecting. It's recording now. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So, hi.
Yeah. Right
uh,
now we have Sydney and Justin. Um,
Sid, Sydney and Justin,
Shanna
and
and Ryan stepped out, but they'll be back.
okay. So Sydney, Justin, Ryan stepped out, and then who else?
Tiana.
Tiana. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So, um, a bit of an introduction first to like what I do here at the Fab Foundation. So, just for the record, because this is recorded, I'm Jean-Luc Purit, uh, and um, I currently work for the Fab Foundation. And what our company does, we have an international network of places called Fab Labs, where there are 1,600 worldwide in over 100 different countries, and people can go into them and pretty much make almost anything. Anybody from the community has access to these facilities. Each lab is equipped with a laser cutter, a 3D printer, a large router, a smaller milling machine, and a vinyl cutter, and along with all of the materials to support those machines. Here on fablabs.io, we have like a machine section, so you could actually like go on this site and then see like what machines, what brands, labs across the network are now working with, using that sort of stuff. So you can see like there's a lot of options out there. If you were thinking about starting a fab lab or building one or whatever, this map is pretty helpful. It can show us like where labs are everywhere in the world. Anywhere you see these markers, there's a lab. Here in New Orleans is Fab Lab NOLA at Delgado Community College, which we hope to visit the day after the workshop. Here in Houston is Fab Lab Houston, hosted by the Baker Ripley Community Development Corporation. And in Chicago is sort of a flagship Fab Lab at the Museum of Science and Industry. So this type of like instruction, this distributed education model that we have called Fab Academy, this is something that gets facilitated throughout the world in over 85 different sites. We go through a whole curriculum of how to make almost anything that includes all of the tools and processes, all of the software that you would need in order to get your own project started. And this workshop is kind of based on part of that curriculum, introducing computer-aided design with the 2D skills that you'd be learning, that we'll be teaching to the kids, and then I'm giving you a bit of a preview today. You can actually do laser cut press fit kits. So this is all cardboard that's placed into a laser cutter, and these parts snap together. So there's no glue or anything holding that up except for snapping together pieces of cardboard, pretty much like Lego. And then this is just basically like a little marble track that the guy put together. So this can be made out of like plywood, um, cardboard, all sorts of materials. And then with the vinyl cutter, we can actually use copper tape, as you see here in this example, and that can be fed through the vinyl cutter, and that is something that we could use to make like a flexible circuit board. So I'm going to scroll all the way down so you can kind of see like the results of this project. So you can see like here's the copper traces all placed on the piece of plastic, and then you can actually bend it and then solder on your components here. So you can actually make electronic circuit boards that are flexible. Those are pretty good when you're making something that's wearable, like a wristband with LEDs, or something in clothes or something like that. So lots of really fun applications, but we're going to go back and focus on computer-aided design right now. So what I'm working in Mac OS X, but If you can, when you do review this video, or if you have a laptop open, you can download GIMP into Windows. GIMP and Inkscape are free software, so you'll be able to just freely download and use this, whether it's at the computers in the LCRP or at home. So with GIMP, this is what's called a raster editing software. So a raster image is something that's made up of a grid of pixels. So if you're familiar with like older video games, like 8-bit and 16-bit days, 2D games and stuff like that, you notice like there's some blocks on the edges of the characters and stuff. That's pixelation, and that's how you can kind of tell that an image is rasterized. What I'm gonna do, my sister sent me a picture of that my niece drew with these cats. So I'm gonna open up this drawing right now. Um, this is a PDF, so this window is going to come up. It says import from PDF. This is if you save graphic files, so if it's like a JPEG, a PNG, a TIFF, or what have you, you're not necessarily going to get these importing options. But because this is a PDF, I can do this. So what I'm going to do, I want to up the resolution a little bit, and I'm going to try to track back and explain why exactly we're doing that. But I'm going to set it right now to like 300 dpi. That's dots per inch for the pixels. And I'm going to press import. Okay, so it's importing. So as you can see, there's like 2 pieces of paper in this image that that was scanned. This was this was scanned on the household scanner, right?
No, this was scanned on the printer in my office.
Okay, so you can use so you can take a sketch and you can put it on a scanner, and you can send it to a computer and you can open it up just like this. Or you can even, if you have a sketch and you have your phone with you, what you can do is just kind of like angle your phone a certain way. What you're gonna want to do is try to like have good lighting up ahead, and make sure that your shadow isn't casting on the picture that you're taking. But just try to like snap that sketch, and then transfer it to the computer. Whether you're scanning, whether you're taking a picture, either route will get you to where we are right now in this process. So I have 2 images here of cats that Leilani drew. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna select one. So um, I'm gonna open up my toolbox right here, and there's on this left-hand corner there's a rectangle that I'm gonna select, and I'm gonna draw a box around the cat that I wanna isolate. So now that I have the cat selected, I'm going to go to image and then crop to selection. And then I'm going to bring the zoom up let's fit the window. Okay. So now that we have the cat, and we see that it was drawn on paper. Ideally, you would have what we're gonna have is blank pieces of paper for the students to draw on, so we won't have to do too much of the cleanup process. But you can see that there are these.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, is there any questions?
Oh, sorry. I said unlined paper. You mean unlined paper?
Yeah, online paper, printer paper, something like that. Like just something like a blank white sheet of paper, because the goal of this part of the process is to make sure that this image is going to be as clear black and white as possible. So yeah, so if in like giving the students a big piece of paper, like just letter size or whatever, and then have them draw a black and white image, and snap that picture and then bring it into the computer, and then we can do this. But since this is like, this does have lines on it, what I'm going to do right now is go back to my select menu, and I'm going to select by color. And when I do select by color, I'm going to press on like a blue area here. You can see now that all that it's done is made a selection of where the blue lines are. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the eraser tool in the toolbox here, and I'm going to change the brush to something that looks like a solid black circle. So the difference between the brush right now and the brush that I want, the brush right now has feathered edges, which means that as it goes to the edge of the brush, it's going to get more and more transparent, versus this really hard brush that I'm going to use, which is just basically like a circle of whatever color we're going to be painting with or erasing. So I'm going to just erase these lines here. And when I go side to side like this, I hold down the shift key and I press left, swipe, hold down the shift key, left click. Yeah. Yeah, swipe, hold down the shift key, left click, swipe, hold down the shift key, left click, and so on. So even though the eraser basically passed in front of the tail, it's not going to hurt the image right now, because I'm only doing things in the selected areas. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my windows and I'm going to turn on the layers palette. And you can see right here that there's only one layer to this graphic right now. So I'm going to go into the layer menu. I'm going to put a new layer, and I want to make it white. Okay, I'm going to turn this off for right now and just show you something. So right now, it looks like there's actually like darker lines for some reason. And that's not necessarily the case. What's actually happening is that it's showing the transparent background in the back. So I'm just going to drag this white layer underneath the drawing, and it didn't work. So, okay. Wow. That's great. Oh wait, it did work because I had to turn it back on. So there you go. So now we have like this drawing that has not so much of the blue lines anymore. That's pretty good. But what we're going to do now is merge the layer so that we have this whole thing all on one layer that we can work with. And I'm going to go to colors, and I'm going to go to levels. And this is where we're going to start kind of like sharpening up the darkness of this sketch drawing. So I'm going to go here and just kind of like use this middle handle and just kind of sense like where I think it should be. About right there. That's fine. I'm going to go back to colors, and I'm going to go to threshold. And I'm going to do the same thing, just using the middle one right here. And just kind of sharpening it up a bit. As you can see, you might need to kind of replay this to see it a little bit clearer. But as you drag this middle piece, you'll start to see little specks of dirt here and there. Don't worry about that too much for now. We're just going to go ahead and zoom in. What I like to do is kind of clean up the like any lines that might be broken up. So I'm going to go into the brush, and I'm going to reduce the size. So you can do this little slider right here. A little bit more. Not so much. There we are. Okay. Ah. Come on, come on, come on. Okay. So, just gonna trace around this a little bit. And you can kind of freehand this, but this is something that just when we're gonna go into Inkscape, we're gonna it'll be good to have this like cleaned up a bit.
Are you using a hotkey to draw?
So it's kind of the same technique that I was using with the eraser. All I'm doing right now is just left clicking where I want to start, and then I go to like where I think the line should be. I hold down shift, and then I have a line that comes up, and then I can just click on that, and then it'll just kind of like give me that line. Okay. Because this is like a little bit like of a stick figure, not too much cleanup needs to happen. I want to make sure that we kind of like keep the integrity of the artist here. Patch up that. Um, Something like that, or let's just kind of do this a little bit more. So lots of playing around with the image to kind of like clean this up. There's painting and erasing that happens. Erasing of these little specks right here, straightening up with the lines and everything. But when you are finished with that cleanup, you're actually going to have something that looks like this. So this is the cleaned up version. All I did from this part to this part was just all of the kind of manual handwork that needs to happen. Just kind of like eyeing stuff. Nothing really like too. It's just a little bit more subjective um than than that. Just kind of like you have to do this. It's just kind of like eyeing up what you think is like the best end product. Do we have any questions about the raster editing software? Were there any parts where you want me to go back over?
Um, the part where you like sort of erase the lines when you pick the pink eraser and you were going through the lines.
Okay. So let's go back through that history. Let's see.
This is the history of what you did.
Yeah. So all I did was just undo history, and this came up. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna just get it back to where we cropped the image. So when I did that, all I did was go to the select menu, and I said select by color. What this does, it'll give you a little hand and an arrow. So basically, wherever you click, you'll be grabbing everything that's in that color. So that's how I kind of grabbed like all of the blue lines. But you can see like it only grabbed so much. But what we're going to do right now is go back and erase these lines. So I left click where I want to start. I hold down shift, swipe to the right, and left click again. Right. Left click, hold down shift, left click, go right, hold down shift, left click. And then what's going to happen, what happened after that was that I selected none, and then I put a new layer. I'm going to make it white, and I'm going to drop it underneath the drawing. So you can see this time it didn't necessarily do exactly as it did the previous time, so it might be like a couple of passes or whatever. But yeah, that's basically like the idea of how you get rid of certain artifacts there. Was there anything else that wasn't clear?
Only Justin's here, but he said that he doesn't have any other questions.
Okay.
So how would we go about saving it?
Okay.
So it's ready for the vinyl cutter.
Yeah. So once we do that, we're gonna go to we have the drawing, so we're gonna go export as. I usually my preferred format is PNG. So I export that, and then what I'm going to do is go into another program. So I'm going to open up Inkscape now. And it's going to take its time. Your mileage may vary on loading times. But now we're going from raster world into vector world. So instead of pixels, what we're going to be dealing with is lines. And each line has like a dot. So you have like a start point and then an end point, and you have handles that will help you kind of bend the lines. But we'll see that as we move further. So I'm going to go ahead and import. Sorry, I went to File, and I'm going to go to Import. And I'm going to get this PNG that we just worked on. Every defaults are okay for this. I'm going to move this up here and zoom in. Now there's two ways that we can go about it. One's the manual way, where we just like draw by freehand, and and then we can have lines and stuff like that. And that's a good way that we can do things. However, for the simplest way, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Path, and we're going to select Trace Bitmap. And there we go. Now we have another cat. But the fun thing about this is that you can actually now just kind of like use any color that you want, and you can see that this is vector art. So for comparison, if we zoom in pretty close to the original bitmap, you can see like all of the pixels and everything. There's that. But if we zoom in here, we can see that the graphic is pretty sharp. There's not a lot of pixelation or whatever. When you have a vector image like this, it can be the 2 inches that it is right now, or we can blow this up, you know, over the page size. And you can have just a big thing that covers a door. And it would still be the same, it would still kind of cut the same as you would when it was like the 2 inch. So there's no loss of quality when you blow up an image that's vector. So looking at this, you can see that there's a whole bunch of little boxes here around the edges of the graphic. These are what's called nodes or points. In order for us to actually like get this to a vinyl cutter or a laser cutter, what's going to happen is the start point, the end point, each of these is sort of like telling the knife or the laser, you have to start here and then go here. And then the next step is from here, go to here, from here, go to here, da, 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 da. And you can see that if there's a lot of points, then there's more room for error. You can get the tool will start and stop. So it'll go from, instead of making like a clean like circle, for instance, it'll just kind of go tick, 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 tick. And you know, you won't really have like clean edges. So in order to get it ready for vinyl, a lot of the time I just kind of like clean up a lot of these extra points so that, you know, the basic geometry is the same, but we're just cleaning this up a bit. So a little bit more time, a little time intensive, just like the cleanup of the original bitmap graphic. But we're just gonna, you know, just kind of like pick off some of these points or whatever. I have another file. We go here, and you can see the end product of going around and picking off the extra nodes there. So there's less here, but if I, you know, start to take off, let's say like a really important node like that, or like that, or like that, like, come on, graphic break. You can see that the graphic is starting to like radically change. So make sure that you want to make sure that it kind of maintains its shape, but then, you know, clean off some of the boxes that are there. So, and this is the one that we're working on. So from this to this, and we can take the sorry, I'm gonna apply a stroke here, and you can see that you can see where the lines actually are. So basically, like this is like, these are both edges of vinyl, or say cardboard or acrylic or whatever. So the laser cutter would cut around here, cut inside here, the vinyl cutter or laser cutter would cut around here, and then you can just kind of like take off the excess, and you would be left with something that looks like either a sticker of the sketch, or you can make all kinds of things. So let me just kind of give a second, and if you guys have any questions, anything that you want me to go back and show, let me know.
When you're selecting the nodes,
Uh-huh.
you only click on it and then you hit delete. Is that what you're
Yeah,
doing?
so there is there's this node selector here. You can see that there's like it's an arrow that's basically pointing to a box with two handles on it. So I'm gonna click in the drawing, and I just like select the box. When I select the box, it turns red, and then I can see the two handles here. You can see this neighboring node has its handles up, but I don't have that selected or anything. But all I'm doing is just left clicking on the box and then pressing delete. And then if I feel like, oh, this is a little bit too much of a change, I'm gonna just Control Z back, or press this undo button. Anything else?
No.
No. When we save it for the vinyl cutter,
Mhm.
is it going to be in the color like it is now, or is it going to be just the stroke?
Yeah. So this is just basically for like your purposes when it's in a program like this. The color is not necessarily, it doesn't um tell the machine, oh, this has to print out in red, like a color printer. The most important things, like I was saying, and I'm just going to go ahead and redo this stroke so you can see it a little bit better. Undo the fill. So as you can see, like here's a starting point here. Here's an end point here. So the most important thing is that that knife is going to start here and then go here. And that's going to be one step. And then it's going to go here, and then it's going to go here and go here and go here. It's not going to be that slow. It's going to be a lot faster. But the most important thing is that you have kind of smooth, clean lines, so that when the vinyl cutter does cut it out, that it just kind of like does like nice curves instead of like jagged cuts like that. And whether this design is all red, all green in the program, that doesn't impact the vinyl that you actually put into the laser cutter. So I could, for this design, I could cut it out of the copper tape that I showed you guys, and we just have like just a metallic copper sticker like this.
Okay. Um, and so now it's at the point where we want it to be in order to bring it to the vinyl cutter. How do we save it? What file type do we use?
So for the most reliable one, I've done PDF. I'm going to replace that. So we can see, and we can, if you have like Acrobat Reader or something that opens up PDFs, um, we can open it up in here, And then just like if you were printing it, go to the print dialog box, and that would be able to send it to the you would have basically like a vinyl cutter profile here instead of one of your printers. Anything else?
I think that's all. Do you have the program for the printer, the vinyl cutter that we will be using?
Yeah, I think there is like an actual job manager for the sticker. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do some tests on this end, and then kind of give the step by step in the lesson plan, so that and we can probably like sync up again, because you're gonna have the final cutter coming soon.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to kind of like reconnect and help you guys get that set up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All good.
I think we're all good. Did you want to
All
say
right,
something?
Johnny. Well, I'll see you next week.
The week after.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
No,
next week.
no, it's the week after.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah. I thought I said in the meeting. I thought at the meeting it was the week after.
It's the week after.
I mean, this week. The week after this week.
Yeah, next week. But it's not next week. It's the week after that.
All right. Well, I'll see you in 2 weeks then.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, yeah. If there's any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk, and I'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
All right then.
All right.